Okay, hello everyone. Happy Christmas to you all. I hope you're having a fantastic time. And you're not stuffing yourself and getting too drunk and ridiculous. But no, I hope you are. I hope you're having an absolutely amazing time. You're really enjoying yourselves, despite all the nonsense and crap that's been going on recently. Yeah, let's look forward now and hope that we can knock the living daylights out of this stupid virus and enjoy 2021 and make it a year to remember. Anyway, today I'm coming back to you with a new new video, part 7 of England's most successful football club. And in this week's video, we're going to be looking at Rotherham United, Swansea City, Carlisle United, Oxford University, Doncaster Rovers, Stockport County, Tranmere Rovers, Chesterfield, Northampton Town, and Bournemouth. So yeah, that's some really good stories this week. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it as much as I've enjoyed putting it together. Also, this week we've got a special guest, and this week's special guest, which is over there, behind me, sitting on my shoulder, is Father Christmas. So he's going to be helping me announce the teams and what positions they finished in the Warren's Team Talk video. Sorry, Warren's Team Talk league table and the number of points they got. So that's really kind of him. He's stopped off on his way back home to the North Pole. He's had his glass of milk and his mince pie, and he's given the carrots to his reindeers. So he's agreed to help me out. So that's great. Anyway, so let's move swiftly on to part 7 of Warren's Team Talk video. Warren's part 7 of England's most successful football club. And once again, thanks very much for everyone who's watched and subscribed to my channel. Please continue to do that, and please continue to put a like on the video when you've watched it. It really does help move the video forward and get it out to a wider group of people. Anyway, so please enjoy the video. Have a great Christmas and Happy New Year. Okay, so my loyal and able assistant, Mr. Father Christmas, has looked at the Warren's Team Talk league table and told me that today's first team is Bournemouth, who finished in 69th place in the table and managed to secure 420 points. Now, Bournemouth were the club who are nicknamed the Cherries, were formed in 1899, and they played their home games at Dean Court since 1910. Or did play their games at Dean Court from 1910. Bournemouth were elected into the Football League in 1923, and they remained in the 3rd Division South for 35 years. In 1947-48, they secured a 2nd place finish in Tier 3 and a 3rd place finish in 1948-49. When the 3rd tier was reorganised, they were placed into the newly reorganised 3rd Division Tier 3 in 1958. And then in 1961-62 and 71-72, they finished 3rd in Tier 3. And then in 63-64 and 68-69, they finished 4th in Tier 3. But they did not get promoted in any of those 4 seasons, unfortunately. They then, unfortunately, suffered relegation in 1970, but would win an immediate promotion in 1971 to Tier 3 by finishing 2nd in Tier 4. but unfortunately they were relegated back to Tier 4 in 1975. Bournemouth were again promoted in 1981-82 after finishing 4th in Tier 4 and lifting the Associate Members' Cup, also known as the EFL Trophy, in 1984 when they beat Hull City 2-1. And they then went on to win the 3rd Division Tier 3 title in 1986-87. They then spent 3 seasons in the 2nd tier, but entered administration in 1997, and the next season they were runners-up in the EFL Trophy to Grimsby Town when they lost 2-1 at Wembley Stadium in front of a crowd of 62,000. And they then ended up back in the 4th tier with relegation in 2002. So immediately gained promotion by winning the playoffs in 2003 after finishing 4th in Tier 4 by beating Lincoln City in the final of the playoffs at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff. In 2008, after entering administration for a 2nd time and being relegated back to Tier 4, Bournemouth appointed Eddie Howe as their manager, and he led them to 3 promotions in 6 years to win a place in the 1st tier of English football, the Premier League, for the first time in the club's history. And this was achieved with a 2nd place finish in League 2, Tier 4 in 2009-10, a 2nd place finish in League 1, Tier 3 in 2012-13, and a Championship Tier 1 title in 2014-15. They then stayed in the Premier League Tier 1 until 2019-20 when they were relegated back to Tier 2. Now, the other thing to mention about Bournemouth was I think in the early 80s they were managed by the infamous Harry Redknapp. Now, good old Harry, as he likes to be known, and is well known for his transfer dealings, particularly deadline day. He led Bournemouth to a famous 2-0 victory over Manchester United. I believe it was in the 4th round. But the only thing about that victory was that they didn't have Crouchy, Peter Crouch, or Nico Cranchart playing in that game. So, yeah, good old Harry. Santa Claus, again, has been looking over the Warrens team talk table. And the next team up in 68th place with 434 points is Northampton Town. Now, Northampton Town are known as the Cobblers. Now, this is nothing to do with the fact that people think they're a load of rubbish, because quite clearly they're not. Anyway, it's the reason they're called the Cobblers is because it's a reference to the town's historical shoemaking industry, and they were formed in 1897. The club were crowned 7 Southern League champions in 1908-1909, and this allowed them to contest the FA Charity Shield when they lost to Newcastle United at Stamford Bridge the beginning of the next season. Now, in those days, it wasn't the FA Cup winners and the league champions who contested the Charity Shield. I believe it was the English League champions and the English amateur champions. So that's why they were playing in the game. They were admitted into the Football League in 1920, and they spent the next 38 years in the 3rd Division South Tier 3, as they were unable to better a 2nd place finishes in Tier 3 in 1927, 28 and 1949-50. During this time, the club also achieved 2 third-place finishes in Tier 3 in 1928-29 and 1952-53, and also a 4th-place finish in Tier 3 in 1929-30. The club became founder members of the 4th Division Tier 4, and the club were promoted at the end of the 1960-61 season after finishing 3rd in Tier 4, before they went on to win the 3rd Division Tier 3 title in 1962-63, and then promotion at the 2nd Division Tier 2 in 1964-65 when they finished 2nd. They were then relegated out of the 1st Division at the end of the 65-66 season, and this remains their only top flight campaign. 2 further relegations in the next 3 seasons saw the club back in the 4th tier of English football. The club were then promoted out of the 4th Division Tier 4 in 1975-76 when they finished 2nd, but they were immediately relegated before winning the 4th Division Tier 4 title in 1986-87. They were then relegated again after their 3rd season in the 3rd tier. They were promoted again after beating Swansea City 1-0 in the 1997 playoff final after they finished 4th in Tier 4. In 1997-98, they finished 4th in Tier 3, but did not win promotion as they lost 1-0 to Grimsby Town in the playoff final. They were then unfortunately relegated in 1998-99, but they won the immediate promotion after securing an automatic promotion place the following season in 1999-2000 when they finished 3rd in Tier 4. However, sadly, once more they were relegated after 3 seasons of struggle in the 3rd tier before securing automatic promotion out of League 2 Tier 4 in 2005-06 when they finished 2nd. They were then relegated at the end of their 3rd season in League 1 Tier 3 when they won the Tier 4 title in 2015-16. But they only lasted 2 seasons in League 1 Tier 3 before again being relegated. In 2020, they gained promotion up to League 1 Tier 3 after finishing 7th in Tier 4 and then beating Exeter 4-0 at Wembley Stadium in the playoff final. I've been reliably informed by today's special guest, Father Christmas, that the next team on the list for today is Chesterfield, who finished 67th in Warren's Team Talk league table with 446 points. Now, Chesterfield were officially established in 1866, though it would be the 3rd incarnation of that name that turned professional in 1891, and they then changed their name to Chesterfield Town. Chesterfield Town then entered the FA Cup for the first time the following year. In 1899-1900, they made a successful application to the Football League's 2nd Division, and the club entered liquidation in 1915. And the club was renamed to Chesterfield FC in December 1920 and became founder members of the 3rd Division North in 1921-22. In 1922-23, they finished 4th in Tier 3, and the following season, 1923-24, they followed this up with the 3rd place finish in Tier 3. They then finished 3rd in Tier 3, and then 2 4th place finishes followed in Tier 3 in 1925-26 and 1929-30. In 1930-31, they won the Tier 3 title, and then 3 years later, they secured a 2nd place finish in Tier 3 and followed this up in 1935-36 with another Tier 3 title victory. After World War II, the club recorded their best ever league finish of 4th in the 2nd Division Tier 2 in 1946-47. Chesterfield won the 4th Division Tier 4 in 1969-70 and then went on to finish 4th in Tier 3 in 1979-80. And after relegation in 1982-83, they again won the 4th Division title in 1984-85, although they would again be relegated after 5 seasons in the 3rd tier. They then secured their return to the 3rd tier with a 2-0 win over Bury. And big up to Bury, by the way. I hope that they're back in the Football League very soon. It's terrible what happened there, but anyway, I feel their pain. But moving on, they beat Bury in the 1995 playoff final at Wembley after finishing 4th in Tier 4. Chesterfield then reached the FA Cup semi-finals in 1997, but were relegated back to the basement division in 1999-2000. They made an immediate return to the 3rd tier after securing a 3rd Division automatic promotion place in 2000-2001 after finishing the season in 3rd place. They then secured the League 2 Tier 4 title in 2010-11, but were relegated from League 1 Tier 3 the following season. In 2012, Chesterfield won the EFL Trophy with a 2-0 victory over Swindon Town in 2012, and then finished as runners-up in the EFL Trophy after losing 3-1 to Peterborough United in 2014. Chesterfield were crowned champions of League 2 Tier 4 for a record 4th time in 2013-14. Unfortunately, though, 2 consecutive relegations saw the club relegated out of the English Football League at the 2017-18 season. So, Father Christmas has told me that the next team on in the Warren's Team Talk league table, who finished 66 equal with 2 other clubs on 455 points, is Tranmere Rovers. Now, Tranmere Rovers were founded in 1884, and they were invited to become a founder member of the Football League 3rd Division North Tier 3 in 1921. In 1931 and 1931-32, Tranmere secured 4th place finishes in Tier 3 and a 3rd place finish in 1935-36 in Tier 3. And they then finished as Tier 3 champions for the 1937-38 season. But unfortunately, though, they were relegated out to the 2nd Division the following year. In 1950-51, they finished 4th in Tier 3, 3rd Division North, and then they dropped into the 4th Division Tier 4 in 1961, before winning promotion back to the third tier at the end of the 1966-67 season, when they finished fourth in Tier 4. Relegation in 1975 was followed by an immediate promotion in 1975-76, when they finished fourth in Tier 4 under the stewardship of manager John King. And this time they survived for just 3 seasons in the third tier until being relegated once again in 1979. In 1988-89, they finished second in Tier 4, and the next season, 89-90, they followed this up by finishing fourth in Tier 3, and then in 1990, they beat Bristol Rovers 2-1 at Wembley Stadium in front of a crowd of 48,000 to win the EFL trophy. However, the very next season, 1990 to 1991, although they reached the final again, they failed to regain the EFL trophy when they lost 3-2 to Birmingham City, and the final again at Wembley Stadium, but this time in a crowd of 58,000. The pain of this defeat was somewhat softened though, when they won promotion to Tier 2 after finishing 5th in Tier 3 and defeating Bolton Wanderers in the playoff final. In 1992-93, they finished 4th in Tier 2, but did not win promotion to Tier 1, as they lost in the playoff semi-final 5-4 on aggregate to Swindon Town. Then in 2000, under the managership of John Aldridge, they reached the EFL Cup final. Again, though, unfortunately, they lost 2-1 to Leicester City in front of a crowd of 74,000 at Wembley Stadium. And then in 2018-19, they finished 6th in Tier 4 and defeated Newport County 1-0 in the playoff final to secure promotion to Tier 3. Now, an interesting thing about Tranmere Rovers is the fact that I remember when I was growing up as a kid, they always seemed to play their home games on a Friday night. Now, I don't really understand why that is, and I don't think that they were the only club in those days that used to do that. I think Southend or maybe Colchester used to do it too. Someone told me it was because they were worried about having to play home games on the Saturday when Liverpool or Everton would also be at home, and they would struggle to get big enough crowds. So if anyone out there knows the real reason as to why this used to happen, I'd be really grateful if you could tell me, because I'd be really interested to find out. But if that was the case, I mean, fair play to them, because obviously the more people they can get in the ground to support their team, the better. So, yeah, I'd be interested to find that out. If you do know, then please leave it in the comments below in this video, and I'll be really happy to read about that. So, yeah, thanks for that. Okay, so Father Christmas has been looking at the Warren's Team Talk table again, and he's told me that the next team, who is one of 3, as I said, in equal 66th place with 450 points, are Stockport County. Now, Stockport County is a ground I have been to, and I went there to watch Maidstone United play in the old 4th division, and yeah, there were some interesting games on at that game after the game with the Maidstone United fans and the police and a coach Not that we were causing any trouble, but I'll tell you about that another time because it's a madhouse story. It absolutely is. I still to this day can't get my head around it. Anyway, so moving on to the lovely Stockport County. They were formed in 1883 as Heaton Norris Rovers and were renamed Stockport County in 1890 after the county borough of Stockport. Now, Stockport first joined the Football League in 1900 and after dropping in and out of the Football League between 1900 and 1906, the club played in the Football League continuously for 106 years until 2011, mostly in the lower divisions. And the team won their first league championship in 1922, which was the newly created third division North Tier 3. So they also secured 2 second place finishes in 1928-29 and 29-30, and also 4 third place finishes in 1927-28, 1932-33, 1933-34, and 1951-52. Now, 2 league championships followed in 1937, Third Division North Tier 3, and 1967, and 1967, Fourth Division Tier 4. They then managed to secure a 4th place finish in Tier 3 in 1946-47. The 1990s was the team's most successful period when in 1989-90 they finished 4th in Tier 4, but unfortunately lost 6-0 on aggregate in the playoff semi-finals. And then in 1990-91 they finished 2nd in Tier 4 and won automatic promotion to Tier 3 as a result. Between 1992 and 1993, Stockport were runners-up to Stoke City and Port Vale. In 1993, they finished 4th in Tier 3, but were not promoted as they lost 2-1 to Burnley in the playoff final. They then reached the League Cup semi-finals in 1996-97 when they lost 2-1 on aggregate to Middlesbrough, and also that season they finished 2nd in Tier 3 and won promotion to Tier 2. After financial problems in the early 2000s, though, the club fell back down the divisions. However, the club did manage to finish 4th in Tier 4 in 2007-8 and were promoted back to Tier 3 after beating Rochdale 3-2 in the playoff final. However, sadly, they were relegated out of the Football League at the end of the 2010-11 season. Okay, so Father Christmas has again been perusing the Warren's Team Talk league table for me, and he's told me that the next club, again, equals 66th on 455 points, was Doncaster Rovers. Doncaster Rovers were founded in 1879 and were elected into the Football League in 1901. The club lost re-election votes in 1903 and 1905 and then were admitted into the Football League for a 3rd and final time in 1923 and secured a 4th place finish in Tier 3 in 1927-28 and then went on to win the Third Division North Tier 3 title in 1934-35. The club then secured 2 successive second-place finishes in Tier 3 in 1937-38 and 38-39. They then won 2 further Third Division North Tier 3 titles in 1946-47 and 1949-50, having been relegated from the Second Division Tier 2 in 1937 and 1948. In 1948-49, they finished third in Tier 3. Doncaster then found themselves in the Fourth Division after suffering successive relegations in 1958 and 1959, although they would win the Fourth Division Tier 4 title in 1965-66 and 1968-69. The club continued to move between the third and fourth tiers, winning promotions in 1980-81 when they finished third in Tier 4, and they secured a second place finish in Tier 4 in 1983-84, and then suffered relegations in 1983 and 1988, before suffering relegation into non-league football in 1998. Doncaster then regained their Football League status happily in 2003, and then went on to win the Third Division Tier 4 title in 2003-2004. They won the Football League trophy in 2007 when they beat Bristol Rovers 3-2 after extra time at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff in front of a crowd of 59,000. The next year, 2007-8, they went on to finish third in Tier 3 and went on to win the League One Tier 3 playoffs after defeating Leeds United 1-0 in the final to secure a place in the second tier for the first time in their history. They then spent the next 5 seasons in the Championship Tier 2, winning the League One Tier 3 title in 2012-13. Though they were relegated out of the Championship Tier 2 in 2012, and in 2014, where they were relegated into League 2, Tier 4 in 2016. But they won an immediate promotion out of Tier 4 in 2016-17 and have remained in League 1, Tier 2 ever since. Okay, so for this one, Father Christmas is going back into the mists of time, and he's told me that this next club finished 63rd in the Warren's Team Talk League table. And yeah, like I say, they finished third, 63rd, and with 540 points. Now, this club that we're talking about is Oxford University. Now, Oxford University AFC were formed on the 9th of November 1871 and represent the University of Oxford, unsurprisingly. They were a giant of the 1870s and won the FA Cup 2-0 against Royal Engineers in 1874 after finishing the competition as runners-up in 1873, 1877 and 1880, which was the last year that they competed in the FA Cup. Their FA Cup final appearances were as follows. So in 1873-74, as I say, they beat the Royal Engineers 2-0 at the Kennington Oval in front of a crowd of 2,000. And then in 1872-73, they lost 2-0 to the Wanderers at Lily Bridge in front of a crowd of 3,000. And then in 1876-77, they again lost to Wanderers 2-1 at the Kennington Oval in front of a crowd of 3,000. And then in 1879-80, they lost 1-0 to Clapham Rovers, again at Kennington Oval, and this time in front of a crowd of 6,000. So again, this reiterates what I was saying earlier, that a lot of FA Cup finals and that period were played at Kennington Oval, and the crowds were a lot smaller than they are these days. You know, as you can see, crowds of 3,000, 6,000, and so on and so forth. So yeah, but it's quite an interesting one, really. So they did well, I guess, to get to 4 FA Cup finals in that time. So yeah, that's Oxford University. So again, my wonderful assistant today, Father Christmas, has looked at the Warren's Team Talk table, and the next club up is Carlisle United. Carlisle United finished 62nd in the Warren's Team Talk table and managed to get 547 points. Now, Carlisle United were formed in 1904 and were elected into the Football League in 1928. They spent the next 30 years in the 3rd Division North Tier 3, at which point they were assigned a place in the newly formed 4th Division Tier 4, from where they won promotion to Tier 3 in 1961-62 after finishing 4th. In 1950-51, they finished 3rd in Tier 3, but did not win promotion to Tier 2. They were then relegated the following season and then won 2 consecutive promotions in 1963-64, when they finished 2nd, and finishing the 64-65 season as champions of the 3rd Division Tier 3. And then in 1966-67, they finished 3rd in Tier 2, but missed out on promotion to Tier 1. In 1970-71, they finished 4th in Tier 4. Finished 4th in Tier 2, but failed to get promotion to Tier 1. They then followed this up by securing promotion out of the 2nd Division Tier 2 in 1973-74, when they finished 3rd, but stayed only 1 season in the 1st Division Tier 1, and were relegated back to the 3rd Division at the end of the 1976-77 season. They were then promoted again under Bob Stokoe in 1981-82, when they finished 2nd in Tier 3, and they suffered successive relegations to return to the 4th tier by 1987. Bob Stokoe was the famous manager of Sunderland when they defeated Leeds United 1-0 in 1973, I think it was, at Wembley to win the FA Cup. He also led them into European competition the next season, but they failed to make a significant impact. Yeah, so anyway, back to Carlisle United. They won promotion as champions of the 4th tier in 1994-95, but were relegated the next season before winning promotion again in 1996-97 after finishing 3rd in Tier 4, only to be relegated again the following year. They then won the League 2 Tier 4 title in 2005-06, and in 2007-08 they finished 4th in Tier 3, but did not get promoted because they lost to Leeds United 3-2 on aggregate in the playoff semi-finals, and they remained in League One Tier 3 until the relegation at the end of the 2013-14 season. The club has reached the final of the Football League Trophy 6 times, which is more than any other team in the competition's history. They won it in 1997 when they beat Colchester United 4-3 after a 0-0 draw after extra time, and then in 2011 when they beat Brentford 1-0, and they finished as runners-up in 1995, losing to Birmingham City 1-0 after extra time, and then in 2003 losing to Bristol City 2-0, and in 2006 losing to Swansea City 2-1, and then in 2010 losing to Southampton 4-1. So yeah, it's quite an interesting one, really. Again, it's another ground that I've been to, and that was an interesting day, purely because of the intervention of Carlisle Rugby Club. And we got invited to their clubhouse, which was really nice of them, and it was a great, great day out. But I'll tell you more about that another time. Okay, so again, I've been ably assisted by today's special guest, Father Christmas, who has told me that next team on the list who finished 61st in the Warren's Team Talk League table on 601 points is Swansea City. Now, Swansea City were previously known as Swansea Town. Now, the club, this story is one of my favourite ones that I've come across so far. The club was founded in 1912 as Swansea Town, and were admitted into the Football League in 1920 and were successful in finishing 3rd and 4th in the 3rd Division South Tier 3 in 1922-23 and 1923-24 respectively, and then went on to win the 3rd Division South title in 1924-25. They won the 3rd Division South title again in 1948-49, having been relegated 2 years previously. The club changed their name to Swansea City in 1969 to reflect Swansea City's new status as a city. They were then promoted at the end of the 69-70 season after finishing 3rd in Tier 4, though they were relegated again in 1975. The club won 3 promotions in 4 seasons to reach the 1st Division in 1981. This happened as follows. In 1977-78, a 3rd place finish in Tier 4. In 1978-79, a 2nd place finish in Tier 3. And then in 1980-81, a 3rd place finish in Tier 2. The following season, they came close to winning the Tier 1 league title, but a decline set in near the end of the season before they finished 6th, which is still a club record. It was from here the club suffered a relegation the season after, and then they ended up returning to the 4th Division, Tier 4 by 1986, and also marginally avoided relegation to non-league football in 2003. In 1987-88, Swansea won promotion to Tier 3 after beating Torquay United 5-4 on aggregate in the 2-legged playoff final, after finishing 6th in Tier 4 that season. In 1994, They won the EFL trophy after beating Huddersfield Town 3-1 on penalties at Wembley Stadium in front of a crowd of 47,000. And then in 1999-2000, the club won the Tier 4 title to win promotion to Tier 3, and then promotion from Tier 4 again in the 2004-2005 season after finishing third. And this was followed up by further promotions in 2007-8 after winning the Tier 3 title. In 2010-11, when they finished third in Tier 2 and won promotion by beating Reading 4-2 in the playoff final to take the club back to the Premier League, Tier 1. In 2006, Swansea City successfully won the EFL trophy by beating Carlisle United 2-1 at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff in front of a crowd of 42,000. Swansea were managed by Brendan Rodgers between 2010 and 2012 when he left to manage Liverpool and nearly won the title. And probably the only reason he didn't was when Steven Gerrard slipped on the halfway line against Chelsea, and they ended up losing the game 2-0. And he then later moved on to Celtic, where he had a very impressive record and started them off on their quadruple treble success. And then he moved on to Leicester City. Well, the less said about that, the better, because you don't want to see me getting angry, believe me. In 2011, a documentary film which was released called Jack a King, the Swansea Story, which is the story of Swansea City over the period July 2001 to May 2011. It focuses on the club's rise from almost going out of business at the bottom of the Football League to the glamour of the Premier League. Now, I have left a link in the description of this video so that you can watch a trailer for this film. I haven't actually seen the film myself, but I'm seriously considering seeing if I can get hold of it somewhere. Anyway, on the 24th of February 2013, Swansea won their first major English trophy by beating Bradford City 5-0 to win the 2012-13 Football League Cup, the competition's highest ever winning margin for the final, winning the first major trophy in the club's history and qualifying for the 2013 UEFA Europa League, the season they qualified for the Europa League, they managed to reach the round of 32, but lost out over two legs to Napoli. And then, unfortunately, the club was relegated from the Premier League at the end of the 2017-18 season. Father Christmas has reliably informed me that this club is the last one for today. He's starting to feel very tired. He's had his mince pie and glass of whiskey, but he needs to get the reindeers back and fed and watered, and then he needs to nestle down to sleep for his big rest until he's out again next year, delivering all the presents and what have you. So thanks to Father Christmas for his assistance today. But anyway, he's told me that the last club today is Rotherham United, who were previously known as Rotherham County. They managed to finish 60th in Warren's Team Talk League table with 645 points. Now, the Millers, as they are affectionately known, were formed in 1925 when Rotherham County 1877 and Rotherham Town 1899 merged together. In 1923-24 season, when known as Rotherham County, they finished fourth in Tier 3. They then joined the Football League in 1925 and went into the Third Division North Tier 3. Between 1946 and 49, Rotherham successfully secured 3 second-place finishes in the Third Division North, and during this period they lost only 3 games at home, and in 1946-47 they only failed to win 1 game at home all season. The club finally won promotion to the second tier, Tier 2, at the end of the 1950-51 season, when they won the Third Division North title, Tier 3. Rotherham then reached their highest ever league position of third in the Football League Second Division, Tier 2, in 1955, when only goal average denied them a place in the top flight, after they finished level on points with champions Birmingham City and runners-up Luton Town. The Millers featured in the inaugural League Cup final in 1961 when they lost to Aston Villa 3-2 on aggregate, with the tie eventually being decided by the second leg going to extra time. In 1974-75, the club finished third in Tier 4 and were promoted to Tier 3. The Millers then followed this up in 1976-77 by finishing fourth in Tier 3, but missed out on promotion to Tier 2 to Crystal Palace on goal difference by a mere 3 goals. Then a few short years later, in 1980-81, they won the Tier 3 title and were promoted to Tier 2. In 1988-89, they won the Tier 4 title and then went on to finish second in Tier 4 in 1991-92 and 1999-2000, and won promotion to Tier 3 on both occasions, and then followed this up with a second place finish in Tier 3. Rotherham was successful in winning the 1996 Football League trophy by beating Shrewsbury Town 2-1 in the final in front of a crowd of 35,000 at Wembley Stadium. And then in 2012-13, Rotherham secured a second place finish in Tier 4 and followed this up with a 4th place finish in Tier 3 the very next season, 2013-14, and won promotion to Tier 2 after beating Leyton Orient 4-3 in penalties in the playoff final. They then repeated this feat in 2017-18 by finishing second in Tier 4, but on this occasion they beat Shrewsbury Town 2-1 to win promotion to Tier 3. Then in 2019-20, they finished second in Tier 3 and won promotion to the Championship Tier 2. Okay, everyone, well, that's the end of this week's show, part 7 of England's most successful football club. I'd also just want to, before I say anything else, give a big vote of thanks to my special guest for today, Father Christmas, who was a great help to me and putting this show out. I hope you had a good I hope you have a good rest, Father Christmas, and you enjoyed helping me out. Anyway, you take care, and I look forward to seeing you next year. Now, so thanks ever so much, everyone who's watched my show. I hope you enjoyed it. Just to let you know that next week, part 8, I'm gonna be covering fewer clubs. So next week I'm only going to be covering 5 rather than the usual 10. The reason for that is because this week's video went on for nearly an hour, and I think that's a little bit too long. And also now we're starting to get towards the end, we're to the top end of the Warren's Team Talk table. And obviously, as we get nearer to the top, the more success the clubs have had, and the more information I need to tell you. So I've decided to cut it down a bit. It won't be, the videos will probably go on for about half an hour, 35 minutes, something like that. But I just think it'd be much better that way. But if you've got any strong opinions and you want me to do the full 10, let me know and I'll be happy to do it. Anyway, next week, I'll be looking at Brentford, Wigan Athletic, Royal Engineers, Swindon Town and Plymouth Argyle. Anyway, so yeah, like I say, I hope you enjoyed this week's show and that you're looking forward to seeing the next week's episode. Thanks again for watching the show, and please remember to put a like on the video and also pass it around friends, families, colleagues, dogs, cats, Father Christmas, Easter bunnies, whoever, anyone else you think who might be interested in seeing it. Because the more people that see it, like I say, the more people that it will reach when YouTube are trying to send it out. So yeah, thanks again. Hope you continue to have a great Christmas, and I'd like to wish you all a happy new year for 2021. And let's hope that this coming year is much better than the one we've just had. I mean, to be quite frank, it couldn't be much worse, could it? So anyway, take care of yourselves and stay positive and stay safe. And I'll look forward to seeing you all next week. Take care. Bye.